Today it is time for a professional match of StarCraft 2, and what I've got for you is a Zerg versus Terran, where we find ourselves on the map Everdream. Now, spawning here in the top right-hand corner, playing with the orange Zerg drones. I gotta say, man, these pro gamers have been mixing it up a little bit when it comes to the colors that they're playing with, and I kinda like it. This looks neat. I mean, when it's like light pink versus dark pink, like we saw a couple of days back, that's not ideal, but orange versus green, it looks cool. But anyways, playing out with the orange Zerg drones from South Korea, we have none other than Solar. His opponent, all the way in the opposite corner, playing with the green Terran pieces. He's from the Netherlands, and he goes by the name of uThermal. Although apparently he has changed his nickname in this particular game to uThermal. uThermal. He used to play under Liquid Thermi, which I think had to do with the character limit because he couldn't go Liquid Thermal or Liquid uThermal. I don't really know. Regardless, apparently he's changed his name to include uwu as well. uThermal. Am I weeb enough to say the word uwu? I don't really know, man. It's an emoji, right? I don't really see it. It's supposed to be like two eyes and I think like a mouth or something in the center. Yeah, I don't really know. Regardless, let's have a look at this game. Now, would you look at that? All right, so Solar, he's actually going around here with a drone. So most of the top-level European pro gamers have been doing that. Well, most notably, obviously, Sarah and Raynor. They have been scouting on their side of the map very regularly in this matchup, just to make sure that there is no proxy barracks going up whatsoever. It's kind of interesting, though, because there haven't really been that many proxy rexes either, but I guess these top-level Zerg players, they really don't want to have to deal with any cheesy shenanigans. They don't want to, you know, go out in a very poor way, so they've just been playing hyper safe, making sure that there is no proxy barracks, at the very least in this location. So the most likely locations on this map are right over here, maybe right over here on the low ground, sometimes actually at the back of the third base, but Solar is making sure that the majority of the locations are gonna be accounted for. And I like it because just going for that little move in a lot of the games is now already, you know, making sure that a lot of the Terran players won't be going for that kind of cheese in the first place anyway, because obviously they know that the Zergs might be scouting it, and if it gets scouted, you just lose right away. So just going for a couple drone scouts, even if it doesn't have any particular effect in this game right here, it does have an effect when it comes to the global matchup, right? The global or the general matchup of Zerg versus Terran right now. We'll see if that's going to be something that stays around for a while to come. Now, look at that as well, actually. The Reaper gets a drone kill. That's really not supposed to be happening at this level. Now, one thing obviously worth noting is that Solar is in Korea and uThermal is in the Netherlands. Generally speaking, if it's Korea versus, versus Europe, they will decide to play on the NA West server, which is like the worst of both worlds. So both of them have like a ping of 150 or so, which is playable. I mean, the alternative would be to one of them would be playing with much less ping than the other, and that just is ridiculously unfair. But maybe that's the reason, like the point that I'm bringing up here is that maybe it's the reason why Solar ended up losing one drone against that Reaper, because the timing is just ever so slightly different. Yeah, the alternative obviously would be to not have any Korean versus European matches with the world situation as it is. Obviously, there's not going to be any offline tournaments here anytime soon. But yeah, I much prefer this way, right? Even if it's going to come at the cost of a drone right there. And maybe the players are going to be slightly less comfortable than they normally would be. Especially for some matchups like Zerg versus Zerg. Pink really, really sucks. But I think for Zerg versus Terran, it's obviously not ideal, but it's manageable, right? We're making the best right now of a pretty bad scenario. Anyways, so it is going to be that barracks into command center, into factory, into starport. It will be a bunch of Hellions here, so that's nice. And then also the cloaked Banshee upgrade. This will be scouted here very shortly by Solar because he is going for that pneumatized carapace upgrade. So he's playing hyper safe, man. This is like the double condom Zerg approach, okay? Don't do that, by the way. It's a bad idea. But seriously, like, he's going for the drone scout right over here to make sure that there is absolutely no chance his opponent is going to be proxy rexing. Now he's going to go for the Overlord speed upgrade to figure out exactly what's going on. Now, he doesn't actually see the armory there in the back, so you won't know that it's going to be Hellbats. Shouldn't really matter all too much. The thing is, right, so a lot of people ask, like, why don't more Zerg players do this? Why don't they play super safe like Solar is doing right here, right? Third base even gets scouted as well right when it starts up. The thing is, right now he knows, and knowledge is power, don't get me wrong, but, like, he doesn't have a Roach Warren, he doesn't have any upgrades, he doesn't have a Baneling Nest, he doesn't have a Lair. Well, he starts it up right now, but, like, You know, he could have started all of that stuff up, and it could have, you know, basically, he could have just defended 99% of the builds that Terran would be going for without having to scout that in the first place, just by making the tech structures at the correct time, right? So, anyways, here we go. Hellbat push together with a Banshee. I like it. Let's see how much damage this can do. I mean, the Roach Warren is only halfway done. Roaches are not going to be coming up anytime soon here. There is a lot of Transfuse energy saved up here on these queens. That's going to be very, very helpful. Another queen actually comes on over from the third. Looks like one Spore Crawler there will end up going down, and with that, the drone as well. The Zerglings darting back and forth. I like this by Solar, man. He's dancing here. He's making sure that the Hellbats don't go to the mineral line, but he doesn't really take a whole lot of damage here in the big picture, right? I mean, he's got 6 Roaches coming up right now, and they're going to be able to deal with all of these units just fine. Now, at the same time, the Zerglings, okay, they won't be able to get inside of the natural here of the Terran. Even the third CC will finish up without the SCV going down, so that's good too. I'm liking this position actually for both players quite a bit. uThermal, I mean, he doesn't lose too many units. I mean, unless he gets surrounded here, that would kind of suck for him. But I mean, there's Roaches out right now too, which is not really something that Solar wants to have at this point. He wants to have upgrades, he wants to have Valeri, he wants to have everything, but he's got, you know, none of the, you know, structures and things done at this point that will actually give him longevity at this point in the game. Or longevity at this point in the game. Well, you get what I'm trying to say, right? Like, there's not really, like, these Roaches aren't going to serve much of a function for the next couple of minutes here. Obviously, like, you could send them across the map, but there's Banshees already up in the air, and it's just not going to do much. Now, I like this. Would you look at that? So the Terran actually is going into a mech transition. I'm assuming Zerg saw this. Yep, he does know. But he's also actually continuing the production here of Banshees, and he's going for the Banshee speed upgrade. This is something that we saw Maru experiment with like a year and a half ago at this point. Not a lot of programmers actually like going for that upgrade right now, but I'm a fan, man. I think it's really, really good. So Solar actually gets into the main base right now, and he will see the little green light over there inside of that tech lab. He also sees an additional Banshee spawning, so that should give him all the information that he needs. 4 of those bad boys are going to be able to roam the map here very shortly. Now, apparently this game was recovered from a replay. Luckily, that's a feature. Maybe there were some lag issues, man. I don't really know. I mean, at this point, I don't think it really mattered all too much, right? I mean, we saw that one Reaper killing a drone, but that's relatively negligible at this point in the game, especially. Spire coming up, though. Okay, oh my god, actually, a double game recovery? We don't see that all too often. Anyways, so Spire coming up. Now, this is one of those things that's... It's a little bit strange. So, on paper, right? Terran Mech absolutely smashes Mutalisks. So he's gonna go for 9 mutas. He's even getting the flyer weapon upgrades as well. However, it turns out that if you have like 600 APM and you can continuously keep those mutas moving, the Terran army can't really chase it fast enough, right? So it's pretty cool. These Roaches and Zerglings are gonna be able to defend against the majority of this army on creep relatively easily. He could even use the mutas here as well to chase down those Banshees. So that's already gonna be a pretty, you know, good use right there for the Spire. But Thors, I mean, they can obviously kill mutas very easily, but they're not gonna come into play here for another little while. Well, here we go. The mutas have arrived. They're gonna target fire down the Cyclones right away. Roach is running away as well, though, from those Hellbats. The Hellbats actually dealing a lot of damage, and the Banshees, they're adding in a lot of damage here as well. Finally, some drones are being killed. At the same time, though, Zerglings coming in for the counterattack. They're gonna go after the third base, and then also the natural expansion of the Zerg. Oh my god, or the Terran rather. Oh my god. That could have been a disaster. He still loses a couple more drones. Gets one more shot off. Alright, I don't think these Hellbats are going to be able to catch up very easily. Zerglings should be deflected here eventually too. Both players take a bunch of damage. Hello, uThermal. Wakey, wakey. Wakey, wakey. Hello. He must be very busy microing the Banshees right now inside of the main base here of the Zerg player. But he loses now, I think, like 10 more SCVs than he needed to, man. Yeah. I mean, he's done a good amount of damage here too, and obviously... Trading workers is not bad when you're Terran and you have those mules. But the Zerg is now going to be able to lay down the law with the counterattack. So the Banshee actually... Ooh, the Banshee hit squad. Going after the... Oh, I was almost going to say the third base here, but it's the fourth hatchery of the Zerg in the center of the map. Does lose 2 of those bad boys as well. The mutas, though, are going to continuously harass over at the third base. A Thor is done. Or it is here, rather, is what I meant to say. Thor is here. Second Thor is going to be coming up as well, so... I think that these mutas should be deflected here in due time. It's not gonna happen, man, even with a magic box. Alright. So, a decent amount of damage here being done by both players. Certainly calling this an advantage right now for Solar, though. I mean, I think that the defense for Terran could have been quite a bit better, though, right? I mean, he had a lot of SCVs going down there in the natural, completely unnecessarily. They certainly did not need to go down. But I guess he was very, very busy microing those Banshees from earlier, and, well, they didn't really achieve that much. I mean, they probably killed a handful of drones, maybe a few queens as well. But I think keeping those SCVs safe, would have been a little bit more useful. Anyways, here we go. So, that Muta harassment, it's weird. So, the Thors, technically speaking, counter Mutas super hard. However, if you have enough Mutas, you can start killing the Thors as well, which is a very strange dynamic. Plus, the Mutas, obviously, they can move around very easily, but the Thors can't. If you dedicate too much supply as well into Thors, then all of a sudden a Roach Ravager army can deal a lot of damage, because every single time that you're making a Thor, you're not making a siege tank, right? So the dynamic between the Thor, the siege tank, and the Muta, and then the Roach, I guess, it's really cool. Both players, though, in a very stable position right now. Neither really is going to be taking a lot of damage here, I don't think, anytime soon, unless, you know, the Thors are in a wrong spot or the Mutas accidentally fly over a couple of those bad boys. It only takes a couple of those Javelin missiles. Oh my god! Get out of there, man. He's scanning as well, just to try and see if he can get an additional volley off with that Thor, because they can shoot so ridiculously far away. You just need to have vision. Not going to happen this time around, but I like the attempt there from uThermal. Okay. So this is where we come into the classical scenario of Zerg versus Terran in 2020. So Zerg doesn't really have, well, any good late game units. Let's just leave it at that. I would say the Viper is the most useful, but Ultras and Brute Lords, they just get absolutely thrashed by all of these Terran units, right? Especially the Thor. It just kills everything. It just kills everything that Zerg has. Infestors can also be helpful if you burrow them underground. Oh my god. One more volley. There you go. It's a couple of Mutas going down. However, what Zerg does have is a ridiculously strong mid-game army. Ling Bane Ravager is super scary, and it can deal a lot of damage. Now, good micros so far here by uThermal. The Mutas are coming up as well, though, right now to join the fray. Planetary Fortress is done. A couple more Banelings here in the back as well. Is he going to be able to actually break through this army? Additional Terran units now are marching down the ramp, too. There's 3 more Thors coming up. Look at the splits here. Oh my god, he's splitting the Thors. I love it. Yeah. This doesn't happen most of the time, man. That's so neat. Look at that. These Thors, they're so low hit points. Oh my god. Wait, what? 3 Thors right here are left with like 10 hit points each. And they actually stay alive and they deflect that Zerg force. That's really, really cool. Anyways, generally speaking, what we see in this matchup, right, is Zerg rinsing and repeating exactly what he did just now. And then uThermal is likely looking to max out on a completely unstoppable force. He's looking to go for that really powerful death ball of Terran units. And while Zerg can stop it if they micro really well, or if Terran makes a mistake, or if they manage to get like all of the neuroparasites off, or something along those lines. Generally speaking, the goal of the Zerg is to keep that Terran army as small as possible, and the goal of the Terran is to get that army to be as big as possible. Alright, so here we go. The best late game unit. There it is, running around. The Lings and Banes. I'm not kidding. They're really, really good. Much better than Ultras and Brute Lords, I can tell you that much. Oh my god. Well, the Javelin missiles of those Thors once again. Trying to get some damage in. There's like no siege tanks here. This is so weird. Yeah, there's 0 siege tanks, but 11 Thors. He's massing Thors right now. That is so neat. Alright. I like the fact that Banshee from earlier is still getting some kills in as well. Just a couple pot shots here and there. Almost flies into the corrosive balls there. But once again, uThermal manages to deflect this army. And you can see at the supply count right now, right? He's slowly getting to the point where he is maxed out. Solar is playing this off of 78 drones. Now, I actually think that's on the lower end of things. I would love to see him sitting at like 90 workers at this point in the game. Because that's, you know, that usually is the thing that, for example, Raynor and Sero are doing. They go on a much higher worker count, so they can actually constantly replenish armies like this as well. And obviously, Solar at this point is maxed out. He's going to be able to go for a nice little bank. But you're going to need to max out, I would say, about twice in order to deal with this Terran force. So here we go. A couple of Hellions. Just buying time, right? This is not an army that's actually supposed to deal damage. It's an army that's supposed to pull this entire Zerg force back. And that's exactly what is happening right now as well. 4th base right now, well and secured. Would love to see an attempted 5th base here as well here for the Terran player, but I don't think that's the plan here, man. Yeah, he's just trying to max out. So he's got 4 siege tanks right now coming up. He made 11 Thors and then went straight into siege tank production. This is a legit army. This army right here from uThermal is not to be underestimated whatsoever. Now, what does Zerg make against this? Well, Ling Bane. Ling Bane Ravager, dude. There it is. Couple of Vipers would be nice too, but the Thors just snipe those out of the sky so very easily too. He is gonna go for the Infestor upgrades, so I like that idea quite a bit. But yeah, there's a Raven here already in anticipation for that. Now finally, some pretty decent connections there with the Banelings, but obviously trading Banes for Thors, even if it's 2 of them at once, not necessarily the most efficient. Eventually that Banshee will find its grave over here too, but uThermal looks like he started up the slowest of slow pushes ever. He does not want to fight this Zerg army on creep. He doesn't, right? So, constantly... Ooh, almost fights a Thor there as well. Not quite, though. I don't know how the Thor stayed alive. But constantly, he's moving the tanks forward. He scans, he clears some creep. Well, actually, he doesn't need to scan right now because there's a Raven. But he makes sure that he is not fighting on creep here ever. Anti-armor missile, that just bought him like another 30 seconds. Very precious seconds at that, too. Because it means that the siege tanks can once again move forward. Well, unless Solar wants to engage, but I don't think you want to be engaging right now when most of that Zerg army has the orange paint on it. Yeah. The anti-armor missile makes all of these Zerg units take additional damage from this Terran army, which is very, very scary. A lot more Zerg reinforcements are coming up, though, but uThermal is inching closer. He's like tightening the noose around the neck right now of the Zerg. You know what I would love to see Solar do at this point? I would love to see him go for the counterattack. Don't bother fighting this, just go for their bases instead. There's reinforcements over here that are basically free to pick up. You're not going to be able to stop this steamrolling Terran army. It's just going to, you know, grind all of these Zerg units to dust. But he is going to try. Here we go. Once again, comes in with a really large Zerg army. This is a completely maxed out force here. Well, I think it was anyway. I didn't glance at the bottom section of the screen. Does get some decent connections as well. The Queen's coming in from the back. Trying desperately to transfuse his army up, but uThermal, yeah, he's fighting off creep, right? This is the moment where uThermal feels comfortable. He wants to be fighting off creep as much as possible. Now, you know what I would like to see at this point? A mule drop. Throw up a mule over here at this side of the map and repair those bad boys, man. They've got 11 and 9, or 10 kills and 9 kills. There it is. Okay. Yeah, they have got kills here respectively. Repair them back up. They have done a good job. I know there's, you know, no unit rankings in SC2, but still think it's cool. Now, notice as well how patiently uThermal is playing this. He is not really taking any risks here. He's just slowly moving the tanks further and further forward. And you know what? I think that this base over here in the bottom right-hand corner, yeah, this base is as good as dead. Zerg units are not going to be able to reinforce this location. And while I guess he can burrow the drones, that's a lot of lost supply right now in basically dead units, right, that aren't achieving anything. Now, finally, we do see Solar coming up with a little bit of a run-by. I like this idea. I mean, I would have loved to see that a little bit earlier, though, when that Terran army was still, you know, sitting up over on the side of the Zerg. A lot of reinforcing units are constantly coming up, but at this point, obviously, no, don't fight it, man. Just go for the counterattack, yeah. There's so much of that Terran army supply. Like, this is like, I don't know, like 60, 70 army supply, maybe? I don't know. He's got a lot of supply caught up in this location of the map. And that means, obviously, that it's not going to be able to move away very easily. Because if you unsiege all those tanks, the Zerg army can just go on top of it. I think going for the counterattack is really smart, right? Because there's only going to be so many units. Now, while this was all going on, uThermal did secure a 5th base. And he did morph it into a planetary fortress as well. So this push over here, it's a little bit late. Well, siege tanks from the high ground trying to snipe down those Banelings. Is he getting the big connection that he's looking for? Looks like he might just actually have enough, though, to kill the planetary. Does he? Oh my god. Does he have enough to kill the planetary? I think he does. Yeah, okay. So the planetary falls at the same time the 3rd hatch of the Zerg falls too. Drones will continue mining over there for a little while longer. Solar, in the meantime, though, has continued expanding in the top left-hand corner. So he does have new bases. Despite losing 2 expansions over here, he does have new bases to mine from. uThermal actually ignoring this base over here. I feel like he needs to move in with a couple of Hellions, man. This is such an easy army to kill. Or such an easy base to kill at this point. Either way, I think uThermal wants to go in for the kill. Yeah, I think he's smelling blood. He's going in with a couple of... Ooh, I like this. A couple of Hellions in the top left-hand corner of the map right now. The newly acquired base here of the Zerg. Would have loved to see 2 of those Hellions towards this base instead. But maybe he thinks that all those drones are dead. Because they were burrowed previously, right? That would make at least a little bit of sense. Regardless, I think he's smelling blood right now. I think he wants to see if he can get on top of all of this Zerg production. If he can get on top of, well, the tech of the Zerg. If you can kill their hive and all of their unit-producing structures, that is going to be pretty sweet. Couple of mutas with the counterattack. 4 additional Thors, though, did just spawn. They're going to be able to finish up their +3 upgrades here very shortly, too, which is absolutely fantastic, putting them at the highest damage output that they can have. The siege tanks, man, they started so far back, and they have now finally, slowly but surely, made their way towards the natural expansion of the Zerg. Couple of Ultralisks are coming up. There's still some Transfuse energy available. Chitinous plating is also almost done. Does he actually have any armor upgrades? Oh my god, he does not. Oh my god, that's a Paperlisk. Did you see that one? That one did absolutely nothing. Here comes the Zerg Swarm. There is a Viper up above. Does he have enough for a Blinding Cloud? Well, the siege tanks are spread out very, very nicely, so only a handful of those Terran units actually get denied. And while this fight is going on, there's a reinforcement in the top left-hand corner. uThermal sends a bunch of siege tanks there. He blows that base up into a ton of little pieces, and with that, Solar's chances in this game. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an awesome day. Don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again in the next one.